Okay, so what we've done is we have now linked our new form to an old sheet, and now we want to put in an answer key because we want this to mark our student responses automatically, so it reduces our workflow, but also means that the kids can get feedback straight away. So we have to have an answer key. The first thing is you need to have an answer key that's right. So we have up here our answers, the teacher's answers, make sure they're right, and then what you have to type in is the number of questions that you have. So if you highlight that and then get to the little square there, it'll automatically put in question 3 for you. It knows it's going to be question 3. I've only got 3 questions, so that's good. Now I know that my answers are correct, so I'm going to use an if then else statement. So if you type in equals, then go if, then what happens is automatically Google knows, or a spreadsheet knows, that this is going to be a question. So we're going to say that if this response in here equals that response equals E2. So if E2 equals E2, that's cool. Then we want you to give you a mark of 1. If not, we want to give it a mark of 0. Okay, so automatically this is going to be 1 because it is the correct answer, of course. Now I can type that out over and over again, or I can just highlight it and drag it across like this, and it will then change the formula for me. So this one here now says equal if F2 equals F2, give it a mark of 1, and then if G2 equals G2, we want to give it a mark of 1, if not, give it 0, which is good. So we've got the 3 things happening there. This will automatically, we'll set it up so it automatically copies down. When it copies down, it's going to change all these things. It's going to change these numbers here to G3, and then G4, G5, or E3, E4, E5. It's going to add them on. So what we want to do is we want to put a little dollar sign in here. So what it's going to do is it's always going to keep it as an E, but it will always keep it as 2. So no, regardless of what appears in the cell, it's always going to compare it to cell E2. So what that means is a response will come from the students into this one will be in E3. The formula will say if the answer in this one equals this one, give it a mark of 1. Okay, so you've just got to make sure that that dollar sign is there. It's very important. So I'm going to go through and put it into each of these so that as it copies down, it'll be great. That's good. So now I've got actually, for me, answering my questions, I'm just going to colour this because then I know that I've done it. Beautiful. I'm then going to do a total, and I'm going to do a percent because I like that. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a different colour because these are like my marking. Let's go to say orange. So what I want to do is find my total. So I'm just going to go equals. Once again, I'm going to use a formula, sum, and just drag it across. Put another bracket at the end, and it's going to add up the things between H2 to J2 and go return. Gives me a 3. Now my percentage is going to equal whatever the total is divided by 3, which is fantastic. So at the moment, that is 1. I can come up to here and put a percentage next to it. Let's just go to, oh there you go, 10% rounded. See how you come down to here? Lovely. So it's 100%. That's fantastic. So I've now marked it, and if another student adds a response, I can make this copy down all the way through. Now I want to come across to here, and I want to actually kind of give them some feedback. So I'm going to have some automatic feedback that I'm going to give to the students depending on whether they got the question right or wrong. So once again, feedback 1, feedback 2, and all I have to do is highlight that and drag it across like that. It gives me my feedback 3. I'm going to move all these 3 across one because I want to do just a general comment in here. So I kind of have these every single time that I set up one of these sheets, and once you've done it once, you can then just copy it and it's all cool. In my comment, I want to let them know whether they got a good mark or a bad mark. And I always set a threshold, so I always want my kids to be over 80%. So we normally do 10 questions. If they get 2 wrong, that's okay. So in here, I'm going to write an if then else statement for a comment. I like these. If equals if this cell here, which is L thing, oops, doesn't like that. If bracket L2 is greater than, I think we have to go 0.8 because it thinks it's a decimal. Then I want to write, well done, you have passed the threshold this quiz. Then after that, if they did do that, I'll say bad luck. Notice I'm putting quotation marks around it, and I am making sure it fits into the format that's needed for an if-then-else statement. So if L2, which is our percentage, is greater than 0.8, because I want it to be above 80%, it says, well done, you've passed the threshold for this quiz. If not, it's going to say bad luck, you need to revise some of the sections, which is great. So that's going to be sitting there. So at the moment it says, well done, you've passed the threshold of the quiz, because for me, I got 100%. Now I want to give some feedback. So I've got 3 areas of feedback, and of course I'm going to do an if-then-else statement for all of these. So it's going to start up with equals if. Now it's quite easy. If this cell here, which is H2, equals 1, they got it right. I can just say, well done, so well done, you got question 1 correct, that's great. So they get that specific feedback. However, if they didn't, I want to be able to give them some targeted feedback. Now the first one was adding up numbers. So you didn't get question 1 right. So now you can see I have given them specific feedback about what they need to do. You didn't get question 1 correct, so you need to revisit adding up numbers. Okay, so if H2 equals 1, it's going to say well done. If it doesn't equal 1, then it's got to say sorry, you actually need to go back and look at adding up some numbers and have another shot at the quiz. So if I go return, it's going to tell me that I got it right. You can see here that it's telling me that I got it right. Right, now that we've got one question done properly, what we can do is we can just drag across and it will change the formulas for us, and it's all ready to go. So now this refers to feedback 2, refers to question 2, because you can see it's looking at the cell I2 to see if it equals 1. Remember, this tells us whether the question is right. This section is then giving feedback, which is pretty cool. But you can see it's got the same questions, like it's got the same answer for them, but I want to change it because each question is different. So you've got to come into that cell. So all I've done now is clicked on that cell, and I move my cursor up here, and I can change that to 2. I got question 2 correct. I can change that to question 2, and this is on, I need to revisit square roots. That's done. And go return. And then the last one, which is my third question over here, I've got to change this to, got question 3 correct. You'll have to look out, you'll have to revisit. Okay, so you can actually target these kind of questions. I have screencasts that are linked to all my questions, so if a student gets stuck, they can then go and look at the screencast, and I put the hyperlink in there for them as well. So now we have a form that's going to take responses, a spreadsheet here that's going to take responses from a form, and hopefully then automatically mark it. So these three areas here, the questions, the totals, and the percentage, and the comments will be the same on every kind of these sheets that I do. So you can actually copy this form and then put it straight in and link it straight to another sheet. So you only have to really do this once.